the picaresque novel. Let's talk about it a little bit more in detail than we have so far. It's a novel, but it's different from another narrative story. And there's several different ways it's different, so we're going to explore that in this unit. The picaresque novel comes from the Spanish word picaresca, from picaro, for rogue or rascal. It's a genre of prose fiction that depicts the adventures of a roguish hero or heroine of low social class who lives by his or her wits in a corrupt society. Picaresque novels typically adopt a realistic style. This would be fitting since we're looking at it from the perspective of the rascal, with elements of comedy and satire, because again, we're going to see things through the picaro's perspective. This style of novel originated in 16th century Spain, but flourished throughout Europe through the 17th and 18th century, and continues to influence modern literature all around the world. 7 qualities distinguish the picaresque novel or narrative form, all or some of which an author may employ for effect. Please remember carefully these 7 distinctions. They'll be important for you to remember on the exam. A picaresque narrative is usually written in first person as an autobiographical account. This makes sense, right? Because the first person, I, us, or we, is super important to use when you want to give the first person perspective. If we are to see the story from the rascal's perspective, how would we do it through a third person omniscient character? It wouldn't be authentic. To see it through the rascal's perspective, we need it to be written in the first person account. We need to see the world from his or her point of view. The second defining characteristic of a picaresque novel is that the main character is often a low character or of a low social class. He's not very refined, maybe not even very educated, a little rough around the edges, and he gets by his wits, rarely deigns to hold a job. This is a very defining factor. There is no plot. The story is told in a series of loosely connected adventures or episodes. This is also fitting for this genre because if we're just to follow the rascal's journey, he may not have a why or where or reason to be, but I'm certain he has adventures. And as in any story, once you piece together the character's adventures, readers can glean a theme or even a plot from the adventures as they occur. Fourth characteristic of the picaresque: there is little, if any, character development in the main character. The thinking goes, once a picaro, always a picaro. His or her circumstances may change, but they rarely result in a change of heart. This is hugely different than what we were talking about in plot and character, correct? Protagonist always goes through some severe change in the novel, even a whole character arc where his or her character, decisions, emotions, feelings, actions change nearly 180 degrees. We see the story bring the character to a different place. Well, in the picaresque, it's vastly different. Here we have a main character with little character development. So then what is the focus on if not the protagonist? Well, clearly the adventures he's having. Again, this is a more realistic form of writing. 5. The picaro's story is told with a plainness of language, or realism. Now, we are about to move into the realism and naturalism movements and discuss the difference between those. So the picaresque novel leans more towards the realism genre. Satire is sometimes a prominent element too. As we see things from the picaro's perspective, we see things through his or her cynicism, her superstitions, her prejudice. And so we start to see things as she satirizes them, into making sense of the world around her. And the last defining characteristic is that the behavior of a picaresque hero or heroine stops just short of criminality. Now, why is this important? Would it be better if the rascal was stealing, lying, creating a ruckus all over town? Isn't that what you thought so far? This is a very important characteristic to remember. So long as the picaresque hero is not a criminal, He's still vulnerable to us. We still want to root for him. He's still our protagonist. And so the carefree or immoral rascality that positions the picaresque hero as a sympathetic outsider is untouched. He is untouched by the false roofs of society, and we see him still honorable in some way. What are examples of picaresque novels? Well, you might have read them. The History of Tom Jones and Joseph Andrews by Henry Fielding were both picaresque novels. You'll notice that the character names are in the titles. That's a clue. Other, more familiar to you maybe, The Adventures of Mark Twain and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, both written by Mark Twain. The picaresque novel is important. It's important for you to remember for the test. Remember the 7 distinctions we went over in this unit. They're vastly different from the way that we've been talking about plot and character all throughout these lectures. This is a very different type of book. Understanding that will help you decipher when a picaresque novel is being presented to you through a passage, or whether the authors that you're giving a choice from are picaresque authors. Please remember to review this information carefully and write the information down, especially anything you don't remember, because you will remember it more when you write it. And remember to take the questions for the study guide to remember the information better.